So today, I want to first of all just kind of give you some objectives so you know where we are. I know I've kind of give you guys a little outline here on your table. And so really, we're just going to talk about just a handful of things. Blessing, we're going to talk about your child's name. How'd you come up with it? And so Chris is going to visit a little bit of that. We're going to talk about training and celebrating certain milestones in our kids' lives. And then we're going to talk a little bit about family relationships. And so as we get going, let me first say that parents, you are the primary faith trainers in your family. You're the primary spiritual influence. And that is something that has been bestowed upon you by God on high. And unfortunately, in our society, for the last 50 years, we've made it too tempting for parents to just come and say, here, watch my child while I go to church. And it sounds great, and it is great. But the message that we have given parents is that, it's the church's responsibility to train my children in spiritual ways. And unfortunately, nothing could be further from the truth. So one of the things that we're trying to do now is let's go back to a biblical standard and see what that looks like. And so that's where we are today. You are the primary spiritual influencers. We are like the B team. We're on the sidelines. So our job here as a church is to really disciple you, to train you to become that primary spiritual influence. Because I know there's maybe a lot of parents out there that are thinking, sounds great, don't know what the heck I'm doing myself. So we're here to come alongside you and to help you in that. So when we start looking for instructions for parenting, and y'all know as much as anybody, there's a million books out there, isn't there? There's a million of them out there. You know the best one ever written is the Bible. And there is so much that you guys can find in the Bible that talks about how to raise your kids. And we find one of our base scriptures from Deuteronomy 6:4-9. I'm going to read it to you. You don't have to get out your Bibles, but you can read it later. It's the Shema, and you may have heard Chris talk about it. But the Shema is a teaching from Moses to the Israelites before they are about to enter in to the land of milk and honey. And one might think that Moses is talking to the spiritual leaders. That he's talking to maybe the priests. He's not. He's talking to parents. And it's really amazing. So read this, or listen to me as I read this to you. It says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength." You've heard that before, yes? "These commandments that I give you today are to be on your heart." Now listen to this. "Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home, when you walk along the road, when you lie down, when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates." Parents, it's our role. Yes? Deuteronomy 6. Yep, and that was 4-9. Yep. So parents, it's our job as parents to raise our kids. It's our jobs as parents to be that primary spiritual influence. And guys, like it or not, listen to me, parents. Like it or not, your children will get their spiritual bearings from you. Good or bad. Whatever it is you give them is what they're going to go with. They're here with us for an hour, a week. So whatever it is that you give them, that's where they're going to get their bearings from. So we want to make sure that you guys are there. So as we get into more of our training for tonight, I know some of you guys may have heard that our training in 4 stages of parenting. I want to run through them just really quick. And the first stage is the discipline phase, and that's really birth to 1 year. So for you, that's exactly where you are. Discipline phase. There's a lot of discipline. There's a lot of correcting that's going on. The second phase of parenting is the training phase. The training phase. And that's going to be, and that first was birth to 2 years. The training phase is 3 to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe. Those are the training years. This is where we try to take it from where we started and put it in their heart where they understand why it is that they're doing what they're doing. And then the third phase is the coaching phase. This is when they're teenagers. They're in the game of life. Mom and dad can't come in and quarterback the play anymore. They're running the plays in their life. And mom and dad are on the sidelines coaching their children as they go along. And then finally, the most beautiful phase of all, and thankful to the Lord, this is where my wife and I are right now. We're in the friendship phase with our boys. We've got 2 boys, 28 and 24. We've got 1 granddaughter. And we are in the friendship phase with our boys, starts from 18, 19 through life. And it's awesome. But parents, listen to me. This is where a lot of parents get this mixed up. They take this first phase of parenting, discipline, and this last phase of friendship, and what do? And we want to start off as friends. Can I tell you, parents? You're not their friends. You're mom and dad. Don't ever put down that lofty goal of mom and dad that God has given you. There's time for friendship, and it's not right now. Because see, well, here's what happens. You notice that I said they switch. So if we start with friendship, what's going to happen whenever they get to the teen years? You're going to realize, uh-oh, I did something wrong. And then what are you going to do as a parent? You're going to revert back to, I better start disciplining my kids. Guys, it's too late for that. How many of you had parents that tried to go into the discipline years as a teenager, and how did you receive that? Not very well. So it's something to make sure that you guys are thinking about. All right, so real quick, we want to discuss the flight plan. I'm not going to go into great detail about it today, but I just want you guys to know we've been working for the past year putting this together, and each one of you guys have this on your table. And our flight plan is our church's strategy for family ministry. And what is so stinking cool about this, guys, y'all are at the very beginning. Did you know that y'all are sitting in a very, very special seat, because you are the families are going to be the ones that get to benefit from this the most. I just did stage 6, Milestone 6 last month, talking to parents of juniors and seniors. And I can't tell you how many of them said, well, I'm a little late to the party. What do you have for me? Well, I got Milestone 6 left for you. We've got all of this for you guys. So let's go through these real quick. Family dedication, that's what we're here today. Christy's going to talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. Milestone 2 is faith commitment. This is accepting Christ, being baptized. Milestone 3, preparing for adolescence. That's those lovely middle school years. Don't you love middle school? Don't y'all look back with fond memories of middle school, don't you? Yeah, y'all are like crazy faces at me right now. Yeah, hey, to think about it. As sucky as it was for you, it was much more sucky for mom and dad. Right? And so you're going to hit that one day, and we want to make sure you're prepared for it. Right? We want to make sure you're prepared for it. Milestone 4, commitment to purity. We're going to be talking about sex in that one, and just talk about what does biblical sex look like. Milestone 5, one of my favorites, rite of passage. This is around age 16, and these are just a time when your young men and women are coming of age. And we want to talk about, what does it mean to be a godly man? What does it mean to be a godly woman? And then finally, Milestone 6, high school graduation. Like I said, we did that one last month. What does life look like after high school? Do I go to college? Do I not go to college? Finances, who pays for what? Parents, I can't tell you how many times I'm sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, I wish I'd have had you when you had kids at this age. Because a lot of them were discouraged because they weren't prepared for where they are. And we want you to be prepared. And so right now, I want to turn it over to Christy to talk a little bit more about this family dedication. You guys may have heard, well, I've heard of baby dedication and child dedication. What's this family dedication? Why is this different? What's going on there? Christy, tell us.
So I would say that's probably the most common question I get. And if you've been here any amount of time, then like Lane is right. It's been, in some churches it's child dedication, baby dedication, parent dedication, family dedication. So we are excited to say family dedication because we really firmly believe that it is for the family. And so the first question is, so does that mean like I'm going to be baptizing my child? Is it like a christening? And so, like, just right up front, we all come from different walks of life, and so no, that is not what this is about. We truly believe here at Fearless that baptism is something that you do as act of obedience. It's when you come into your own, when you decide to follow Jesus and to become a believer, then that's an act of obedience. That's your next step. So we believe here that dedication is very serious. It's making a vow. It's making a vow in front of people that we are going to dedicate our child, our family to the Lord and do the best that we can to walk in His ways. And so that's what I think. The second question is because it's been named and called different things. I had some families that they're like, well, I've got a 6-year-old and like, but I want to do this. Like we want to dedicate, this 6-year-old to the Lord. Is that okay? And again, yes, it is. The ceremony itself, we've had all sorts of families on stage, from just little bitties to I think probably maybe a 10 or 11-year-old. And so we just take it as this first step, this first milestone. Like we want it for you, and we want you to be able to, as a family, make this commitment. And so the ceremony actually follows two texts, and you may have heard this. So the first one is in 1 Samuel 1:28. You may have heard the story. It's about Hannah, who wanted to have a child, couldn't have a child, and so God blessed her with a child. It says, God blessed Hannah with a child, and she dedicated him to the Lord. For this boy I prayed, and the Lord has given me my petition, which I asked of him. So I have also dedicated him to the Lord. As long as he lives, he is dedicated to the Lord. So that's a good verse to think about dedicating. And then obviously in the Gospel of Luke, Mary and Joseph went to the temple as per the Hebrew law and dedicated Jesus. And so dedication has been around for a very, very long time. And so the ceremony really is about you as parents. Your kids probably won't remember this day, especially if you got little. They are not going to remember it, but they will remember what you are going to write on their hearts from this moment forward. And so one of our goals with today is really moving from being like a reaction-based parent to an intentional parent. And I am, I can say for sure, like, ooh boy, I was very reactional. There's not a whole lot, though I was in teaching, in education, it's kind of different when you get your own. So I really am hoping that some of the things we talk about you today will help you to make that step towards more intentionality. So the ceremony itself, that's what we believe it to be. Do you guys have any questions about just the ceremony, about the dedication process, things like that? Because I just want to make sure that you understand what it's not, I guess, before we go deeper into what it is. Perfect. All right. So what we will start with first is the word bless. And so that is where your first role will come in. And the word bless, I love this. It literally means to breathe in. And so as parents, as blessers, you will be breathing into your children value, purpose, hope. You'll be breathing that into their hearts. One way that we've done this is by naming our child. So Lane alluded to this a little bit earlier. We all chose the names of our kids for a reason. Like we had most of us did. I think everybody probably did. For us, for example, I have a son who is 17 and 3/4. He is almost 18. And so, but we chose his name. We prayed a long time for him. And we chose the name Caleb Eli Kirk. Number one, because Chuck wanted the same initials. And he's a third. He is a Charles Eugene Kirk the third. And he's like, there is no way that I named my kid Charles Eugene Kirk the fourth. So we have the same initials, but I really believed that Caleb was just going to. I just know God is going to use him in a mighty way. And so the word Caleb means bold. It also means red dog, which, I'm pretty sure that means stubborn, strong-willed, and he has definitely lived up to his name. And so what I want for you guys to do right now, there should be a little square sheet of paper somewhere on your table that says Family Dedication Verification. And so what I would love for you to do is on the back of that little sheet, I just want you to write how you decided on the name of your child. Give me the short version. Well, thank you guys for sharing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm hoping that I can share that from the stage. So that's why I'm asking you to write it on the back of your little piece of paper so that I can have that with me at the actual ceremony. And I'll try to share just a little bit with our congregation, with our church family. So if you didn't get to write it all out, then just go ahead and you can work on that for me. We'll have some resources, I think, too, on that sheet for you. One of the books, I haven't read it, but I know the author, and I've read a lot of his books before. And it is called You Have What It Takes, What Every Father Needs to Know, and that's by John Eldridge. So, he talks about the two questions, like for a boy and a girl. The boy is, do I have what it takes? And the girl is, am I lovely? Those are the two questions that are posed in that book. And so I highly recommend to read any of Eldridge's books because he's pretty amazing. So those are the two questions that, like a boy and a girl are going to be thinking of. And if you don't answer those for them, then the world is going to answer those questions for them. So it's a really good read. And then The Blessing by John Trent, and I think Gary Smalley he was in there with him too. And so they talk about the actual blessing and how to share a blessing over your kids. And so one of the big things that I shared just briefly about Caleb is we actually got to adopt Caleb. And so I was in the delivery room. I mean, it was like just the best thing ever. God just really, we dealt with infertility and it was just awful. I'm just going to say, that's all I'm going to say. But then he so blessed us with Caleb, so I was able to be in the delivery room. But, we told Caleb from the very beginning, that he was adopted, and that meant that he was chosen. Like we do feel truly, and I think all of us should feel, we are chosen by God. And yet we felt like, number one, we were able to choose him, and like he was able to choose us. I mean, even because when he got older, we would still always talk about it, and we would say, like, Caleb, we're just so blessed, to be able to, God chose you for us and us for you. But we also talked about his birth parents because they were a married couple, and they had already given, their first baby up for adoption. So we were very open with Caleb, like, we know you have a brother somewhere. Maybe someday God will allow, you guys to meet. And do you want to meet? And he just was always like, yeah, no, I'm good. Like you're mom and dad, and and I get that, and so like to be able to have that blessing, it's just been kind of huge for us. So and when we bless our children, we really we bless who they are and not what they do. So I don't know, like for dads, I know like that, like for my dad, he was always very much like what we did. So you want to speak?
Yeah, well, just as far as that goes, oftentimes we praise our kids for different things, and we want to make sure that, not that there's anything wrong with praising them for their talents, But how often are we praising them for character? When are we blessing them for that? And so, dads, I want to speak to you real quick. You guys are the head cheerleader on the squad. I know that doesn't sound too masculine. Definitely not super sexy. But that's what we are. We're the head cheerleaders. What happens in our home oftentimes depends upon the tone that dad sets in the home. And so we want to make sure that you guys realize that you know, that we're encouraging our kids, we're blessing our kids, and I've seen many a dad, whenever their daughters turn, seems like it's getting younger and younger, but 10, 11, 12 years old, and they start to blossom, and they look at their daughter, and before they would love and hug and kiss on them, and they look at their daughter and I want to shake hands. You know, it's just, please don't ever send that message to your daughters that something has changed, because they're changing. So make sure that they know that dad loves them, dad supports them, and dad is the encourager. So we want to move into real quick the training portion, which is, this is really what we're here for.
Yeah.
Of how do we set you guys up to be that primary faith trainer?
Yeah. So one of the things that, I don't know if you remember this, but Pastor Chris says we are to model pursuit, not perfection. Like, kids are great imitators of us, and I know you guys are intelligent enough, you know that. And so one of the things, how we broke down this training was really like in two different things today. One is like a structured type training, and so we're going to talk about family devotions. Now, I really kind of, I've pushed back with Lane on this a lot, and so he's going to kind of take this section only because, like, I have seen how, you know, whenever we say family devotions, like, eyes will maybe roll, and you'll be like, oh, there's just no way, I don't have time, I don't know how to do it. Like, I know all of that comes in because I dealt with the same thing. Chuck and I really did deal with the same thing. And in my family, and Chuck would be fine with me sharing this, and you'll probably be surprised that I was a little bit more vocal than him, and I'm a little bit more strong-willed, and, you know, and so I tended to kind of take that over. And, you know, and then really, really, truly, I believe, you know, Chuck, you know, I should have been lifting him up, because, like, we would start it, and then I'd start critiquing it, and then we'd stop doing it. So I know you want to say a little bit about that.
So, guys, be honest. Raise your hands with me. Family devotions, do they scare you? A little bit nervous? Yeah, the rest of y'all are lying. So, yeah, family devos, there's just something about them. I look back, I mean, it's been a long time. I got a 28 and a 24-year-old. And we wanted to do good. I wanted to be that person. But I'd come home from work and I'd be tired, and all of a sudden, out of left field, my wife would say, hey, we need to have a family devo in about 5 minutes. And I would get the cold sweats. And I'm going, I need some time to prepare. And I thought that I'd have to put together this perfect something. And we didn't have apps back then, that you didn't really have to prepare anything. And nowadays, guys, we can talk about several up here. There are so many apps out there. Look at them with your spouses. Look at them with your spouses, because, guys, your kids are going to follow your cue when it comes to devos. And I will tell you the cue that my kids followed when my wife walked into the room and said, hey, let's have family devotions. And my kids saw my face go, yay. What do you think my kids thought about family devotions? My wife could be Mother Teresa. Didn't matter. Dad had already kind of spoken what he thought about it. It wasn't what I was trying to tell him, but that's what I told him in my own insecurity. So, guys, let you be the leaders of that when you have family devos. Find you an app. There's a million different ways that you can do it. If it's something as simple as, this is our bedtime routine, and we're going to get out the children's Bible story app, and we're going to read the story before you get to go to bed. And they'll love to do it. Why? Because they don't want to go to bed. That's just one more 5-10 minute stretch that keeps me from going to bed. You got a captive audience, take advantage of it. Okay? Don't make it more than what it has to be.
Yeah, for sure. And so the other thing too are these two different things like faith talks and God moments. I want to talk to you. So going back to Deuteronomy 6, it tells us here, talk about them when you sit at home, when you walk along the road, when you lie down, when you get up. Those times are like, oh my gosh, there's such great opportunities. And so when you do, like for example, a faith talk, to me, a faith talk is a little bit more intentional. So you maybe thought it through a little bit more. And if you bring your kids, then you know one of the things that we provide for you is a little take-home sheet. And even if that is all that you use to kind of prompt your memory for an intentional faith talk sometime that week, it's pretty amazing, and God will truly, truly just bless. And so those faith talks are a little bit more intentional, and you can do it. We have that opportune time when you wake up in the morning, when you lie down at night, when you're walking along, when you're driving. Like those are the times, like in your mind, if you say, okay, this is the time when I am going to, and oh yeah, Christy sent home this little piece of paper that says right there, oh, mealtime. I can do, and like Lane said, there are some apps. We have the Parent Queue, and that goes along with the curriculum that we use. You can download that app, and oh my goodness, there's so much resources just from that alone, from that Parent Queue. But there are the Bible app. There are so many things out there for your kids. But just like choose one, and have those intentional faith talks. For us, when Caleb was not driving yet, we would take him to school, and that was my time because my husband was not getting up that early, and so Mama got up, and that was my time, and I would take something, either something that I read in my devotion or something that I knew they were talking about at church, and that's when I would be intentional and say, hey bud, like, what do you think about this? And then, sometimes it was like, I don't know. And, that would give me an opportunity. But then there were some times when he just didn't really want to talk. But, like, I stuck with it. I was especially from middle school, 6th grade, until he started driving. I mean, that was like that was what I would do. So those faith talks are really, there's a little bit of work to them. You got to have a little bit of direction. But then there are those God moments. And those God moments show up all the time. You just have to be looking. You just have to be looking for them. Like I know for us, we lived in Clearwater for a while, and where our church was located was downtown, and so we had a lot of homeless people all the time who would come in. Every time we drove, to church, there were homeless people on the corners. They were asking for money. We see that around Dayton and everything. And so, I just remember Caleb really always asking, Mommy, why is that guy out there holding that sign? What? And to me, that's like a God moment. It's, and I would take those moments. We're in a store and, somebody's needing help to do something. And I would be like, all right, buddy, you go over there and ask if you can help. And so they would do it, and then all of a sudden, this person would start talking to to me that was like a God moment because God just showed up. I'm just trying to teach him to be kind and helpful and to serve, but then God shows up in a mighty way to just bless the socks off of us. And so, those are the times where you just have to just be looking and to be able to find those God moments to celebrate.
Yeah. Guys, I've got an aha moment for you. Check this out. We're talking about doing training here. When is it that we most often do our training? Most oftentimes, they're during those uncomfortable conflict times that we choose to do our training. Our kids screw up, we're going to train them. We're going to lecture them. We're going to do whatever. Let me ask you something. Think about husband and wife here. Last time you had a moment of intense fellowship with each other. That's Christianese for you had a fight. How receptive are you to growing at that point? when you're right in the heat of it? How receptive are you? Even if you come to the conclusion you realize you're wrong, how open to growing or training are you at that point? I would say 0%. Why are our kids any different? And for some reason, as parents, and your parents probably did it with you, you screw up, you get disciplined or whatever it is, and then as parents, we try to train during those times. And we wonder why they don't get it. Does that make sense? Are y'all with me? So here's my encouragement to you. These trainings here, don't train if it's a conflict time. Bedtime is a great time to train into some things like that. Do your training during periods of strength. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, we always, tended to pick when we were in the heat of a battle to try to train and then say, but because God says I'm the one who's in charge here.
And they're just so receptive to that.
Yeah. Yes, and then Caleb would say, yes, but I chose you. Remember we had that whole chosen talk, so yeah. So those are just a couple of things. Like, again, there's so many resources out there. I just want you guys to pick a couple of things. I don't want you to be so overwhelmed. And again, just going back to yeah.
Do something.
Yes, absolutely. And then celebrate. I don't know, but we celebrate a lot in our family, and we are loud when we celebrate. But one of the things that you'll notice on your table is a mason jar. So I'm trying to. I don't think any of you have been through another dedication because we've changed it. We used marbles last year, but Jessica, who Lane mentioned, is our preschool coordinator. She came up with this idea of 936 pennies. That's how many pennies are in there. There's a book called 936 Pennies, Discovering the Joy of Intentional Parenting. And so the idea behind the pennies in the jar is to take a penny out each week. Now, 936, you're wondering, 936. From the time your baby is born until they're 18 years old, you have 936 weeks with them. And so, yes. So some of you are already thinking, because I know you are, you're like, oh boy, I'm already here. And so part of this exercise is not to make you feel bad, all right, I know I've already got to take out so many pennies because, we're starting today with this. But as you remove those pennies from that jar, I just really want you to just pause and think about, how much time have I spent this week, sharing with my little one about Jesus? How much time, did I maybe intentionally have a faith talk with them? And I want you just to, not to make you feel bad, but to know there is hope. And this time is precious. And so we want you to take those jars with you when you leave. And the one thing that you'll notice is when you pick them up, they're very heavy. You guys, you have a heavy weight on you. I get it as parents. I mean, we both do. And so I want you to be able to take that and to use it for hope, to use it for better. I did with Caleb starting in the 6th grade, because I'm a fool for M&Ms. I had M&Ms in my jar because I thought, well, I'm gonna eat one, and I did it daily. So I started out with, I don't know, 8,000 M&Ms in this, and I'm telling you, they're nasty now. But I'm still eating nasty M&Ms, and I am down to, he graduates in May. So I am down, I'm not even gonna say because I'll start crying, but I have just a very short amount of time. But my time hasn't been wasted with him. I could have done way better, absolutely, but I have tried my best, and I just had to have some type of reminder. And so that's what I want this jar to be for you guys, just a reminder of how precious our time is with them, and to be intentional with that as best you can. So, and that's memorials, milestones, celebrating it. I don't know.
Yeah, so our milestones, guys, are just that. They are something that we are to build up to. And when we hit that milestone, that should be a celebration. With my boys, I did a little bit different than this. And when we built this, we wanted to make it work for everyone. But the theme I used with my boys, I had 6 milestones as well. And I built them around the armor of Christ. And so my boys got a piece of the armor at every single one of their milestones. So whenever they accepted Christ, they got the helmet of what? Helmet of salvation. And it was about 10 times larger than it fit on their little peanut head. But that was their first milestone. And we had their grandfathers come and bless them. And at each stage, they got a piece of a medieval armor of Christ. And so that's just one way. That's one theme. You can steal my theme if you want to. In fact, if you seriously want to do it, I've got a whole spreadsheet I can give you with all kinds of stuff. But you may want to do something else. Make something special about it. Celebrate it. And so if you go on to BeFearless.org, you'll find this flight plan in a whole lot more detail, where we talk about some of these celebrations will be public ones, some of them will be private, just for you and your family. And so, yeah.
Yep. So really, just to wrap up, you guys are doing amazingly well. So Lane's just going to quickly just talk about just kind of, you've already touched on some of this, with their relationships and stuff. So
yeah. So guys, family relationships, I just want to share this with you guys because I wish that Laura and I had somebody telling us whenever we were in your position, especially to my first-time parents. Listen to me, because our first-time parents, I'll just tell you, you're crazy. And so are we. And you do crazy things with your kids. And I would tell people, I know, and it's my right to do so. And I want you to feel that as well. One of the things a term that we made as parents that took us a while to dig out of is that we want you guys to know that moms and dads, you are the primary relationship in your family. When you said I do, you became a family, not when you said it's a boy. You became a family then. Your children only extend the family. They don't make a family. And oftentimes we find with first-time parents, everything goes into that child. Especially, my wife was a stay-at-home mom. And she says, you don't need anything. This child needs me for everything. And I kind of felt like a catcher in a t-ball game. You pretty much just sit back there and do nothing. You may catch a fly ball coming home trying to catch somebody, but you don't even catch a ball when they hit it. They hit it off a tee. And that's how I felt as a husband. I felt completely out of state. And so here's what I want to encourage you guys to do. Continue to date each other. One of the things I love watching my wife do when we go out to dinner, she will look for a young couple. And if they're out on a date, and she'll go praise them. And she'll say, y'all keep dating. Keep dating each other. Because one day you're going to wake up and that sweet little thing that you have will be gone. And all you'll have left is each other. And we've got dear friends that were married 25 years, and when their single daughter left and went to college, they looked up and realized they were staring at a stranger. Because they didn't connect with one another. Everything got poured into that child. Make sure that you connect as moms and dads. Not as moms and dads, pardon me, as husband and wife. Your kids need to see that too. Husbands, put your bride in that role of wife and not always mom. Your kids need to see that.
And pray together. That's the other thing. Like it is amazing. Like when your kids see you guys praying together, they're like sponges. They're gonna see that and they're gonna do that. It doesn't have to be like some big, huge, elaborate, okay, everybody, let's bow your head, close your eye, like, man, they just need to see, like Chuck and I still to this day, if there's something that hits us in the kitchen, we'll take our hands and we'll just say a prayer right then and there. So Caleb has always seen us, not just at the dinner table, which that's great. That's how I grew up. Like, I don't know why, but even when I got married, I'm like, do we not pray, Chuck, at the dinner table? I thought that's what we do. But they see that, it's a habit. It's something that we should be doing together.
Absolutely. I've got on here couch time. I'm not going to explain that because we're running out of time. I want to make sure I respect your time. But that's just time where you guys take 3 to 5 days a week and y'all sit down on the couch and visit. It's something simple, but it's fantastic. It's another training that I don't have time to go into today. Let's get into our closing comments here real quick. Let's review our ceremony information. So if you look at your outline real quick, Christy, would you get that real quick with everybody and tell them what's it?
So again, you can see that we want pictures from you guys, at least 2 pictures, and they need to be landscape, and you will send them to Lane. That's the email that you send them to, and we would love them by the 13th, because Matt will then put them together so that we have something to present in Big Church on the 22nd. The date is the 22nd, so don't forget that. I know some of you said 9:30, some of you said 11 o'clock. And so, we will try to honor that. We don't want it to be so lopsided that maybe there's only one family at 9:30. We don't have that, but just know, we may ask you, hey, is there any way you could do this hour instead? And if you can't, we get it. I guess I was kind of a little brat and pushed back a little back. I pushed back on that too. Well, no, they're going to come. What's easiest for them? So, but I am going to make that ask. If you guys could be here 15 minutes prior, that would be amazing, because that'll just give us time to get everybody settled, and we're actually going to meet in the auditorium on the far side where the garage door is. There's a big garage. We don't have a baptistry anymore. I always used to say, on the baptistry side, but on the garage door side, we're going to have it roped off, and so you guys just come. If you're going to bring family with you, they can sit on that side too. But we will Sarah will. She's going to put you guys in alphabetical order, so that when you go up on the stage, we have all my notes together and I have everything right, and that just seems to work the best, is in alphabetical order. And then if you want to, John Silfies is going to be in our office, and right after the ceremony, if you want to get a family picture, he'll do that, and I'll probably be on the Fearless background or whatever. But we just thought that would be kind of cool, especially if you've got extended family here too, to get everybody in the picture would be really fun. So right there, the flight path, you guys can read that. I'm not going to. We kind of shared a little bit already what that will look like. Lane will be doing a lot of the charge to the parents and to the congregation. I'll be introducing, sharing about the names. So we'll kind of both be team teaching and tag teaming up there. But you can see that you'll be there during the worship time. And so, that'll be 3 songs, and I get it, kids will be running around. I'm giving you guys permission to not even worry about it. Just don't worry about it. I remember Chuck and I were I don't even want to say that. We were just dumb. Because we were so worried what everybody was going to think, And so just don't do it. Our family, our church, we love each other. So, don't get stressed out over it. We just want you to enjoy that moment and know that we are rooting for you, and we want it to be fun for you. So, yes.
Absolutely. So what are our next steps? This is Milestone 1. Milestone 1 event is going to be in 2 weeks. And then what comes after that? Milestone 2. And so Milestone 2 is going to be faith commitment. You're thinking, I've got an infant here. I've got a little bit of time. I think I'm okay. But you know what? I don't want you to wait until your kid starts asking you about what it means to follow Christ before you think, okay, what do I need to do to tell them? So as soon as your child is getting old enough to have some sort of cognitive ability to have a devotion or understand kind of God moments or anything like that, start it now. And we want you guys to come to our training. Probably won't need to come to the one unless you've got kids in that range. But come to that whenever we have our parents' summit next September. Okay? All right, so last thing, and then we're going to let you guys go. Everybody got this book right here. So oftentimes women end up being the readers in the family. I will tell you guys, this is fantastic, practical book for parents. Don't just read it. Guys, don't give this to your wife and say, hey, give me the Cliff Notes when you're done. Be involved as part of it. It has got some killer stuff in here. So, like, what are some characteristics, godly characteristics we talked about earlier, about praising your kids, about their godly characteristics? You got page 53 through 58. You'll find those there. What are some traits of a godly man or a godly woman? That's 61 through 62. Manners. It's just got some really practical things that you can. There's a whole chapter on manners, and you sit there and think, okay, so what do you do when you have guests? How should your kids act when they have guests? Do your kids rise up and go meet your guests at the front door? Or are they like most teenagers today? They're still on their phones over here and don't even acknowledge the people coming in. What are the expectations if we're the guests? Communications, how to resolve conflict, shopping, travel, appearance, meal times. I mean, there's so many different manner opportunities in here. And then just some practical living skills. In chapter 6, guys, if y'all can turn there, you don't have to right now. Pages 101 through 114. They get it all laid out from age 2 through the teen years of just some practical living skills that your kids should know at that age level. Is that not freaking cool? You say freaking in here?
You just did.
I just did.
Yeah, we're taking it.
I don't know if there's an edit button, but that's what I said. So, hey.
Yes, yeah. Another great book too, if you're a reader, is Mark Batterson's Praying Circles Around Our Children. And there's praying circles, for adults and all that. But the one for children is so good. So that's just another one. You guys can like shoot me an email or Lane an email and say, hey, like just give me your top 3 books or whatever, impacted you the most. Not that we got it all together, but we're old, so we can.
The book that Laura and I have is twice the size. This is like several editions down the road. But we had this one whenever we had kids your kids' ages. And it's tried and tested. It's a great one. The last chapter in there is just on safety. Just what are some good safety topics with your kids? And so, guys, that is our training for Milestone 1. We are so glad that you guys came and joined us today. If you have questions, my email is on that paper. Whenever you're sending your pictures to me, get those to me as soon as possible. We don't want y'all to be standing up there with your kids and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I forgot to send them a picture. And then we're up there talking about your kiddos and there's no family picture to show them, okay? So get that to me sooner rather than later, all right?
I could use a stock photo, but that probably. Can I pray for them?
Please do.
Let me pray for you guys. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this time that you've given us. And Lord, I just pray for each family here, Father. Just bless them in such a special way as they, some of them beginning this journey of parenthood for the first time. Lord, give them strength, give them boldness, give them wisdom, Father. I pray that they would work on their relationship with you to be the best that it can be so that they can then pour into their kids and then able to see you through them, Father God. And I just pray that as we get ready for this ceremony, Lord, I do pray that you would be blessed in all of it, that you would be honored, and that when we say as parents, like we dedicate our child to you, God, we pray for this child. And then as a church family, like we want to come alongside and to help and to be there. Father, I pray that our church family understands the impact that we can have on these families. So, Father, thank you for this time. Bless us as we go our own ways, Father. In Jesus' name, amen.